Hey guys, welcome to the world of words. I have the world behind me. In fact, I'm covering about half of it with my head, which just tells you how big-headed of a character I truly am. I'm wearing this beautiful aventurine necklace from Cornwall, England, which is right about here. And this will be a very adventurous series indeed. In fact, maybe the most esoteric clip I will ever have recorded. And I want to call this series Parallel Worlds. Why Parallel Worlds? Well, I was running in El Ocotal, Mexico today. It means pine forest. And right after dusk, these fireflies just came out. And, my imagination is almost as fanciful as make up your own metaphor. But I thought that all these fireflies were elvish fairies, and they inspired me to record these clips for you about how different spheres or fields of activity relate to translation interpreting. So, esoterics aside, let's actually dive in. And I want to talk about 4 different fields that I know something about, or at least about 3 of them I do. And compare them, forgive me, it's like 3:30 in the morning, to translation interpreting. And field number 1 is going to be running. Now that I do actually know something about, and I've achieved a certain level of success. So, the running paradigm that I know and teach and preach has 5 components. And they are endurance, speed, strength, technique, and the mental component. Alright, parallel number 1. You can envision these clips as a series of parallels, and I don't know which of them will be most meaningful or significant to you, but I'll try to draw different ones, okay? Not literally draw, because I'm horrible at drawing, but okay. Any good runner, especially any great runner, has all these 5 components in a very solid state or condition. Like, there is no Olympic runner who has absolutely horrible speed, or who is a mental wreck, or who has, well, there are some who have somewhat bad technique, and that's probably the weakest point, but it's never completely bad. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an Olympic runner. Same with interpreters and translators. I don't actually know exactly what those 5 components would be. I'll philosophize in just a little bit, but let's say, just for the sake of an argument, that they are your overall vocabulary in the language, your specialized vocabulary, your command of the language, which is different than vocabulary, like, your ability to string words together and so forth. Your technique, which in interpreting is especially crucial, and your demeanor, delivery, and all these communication skills. So, if you are to be a great interpreter and a maestro and a master, you can't have any one of those points in horrible condition, because, the whole system, this is a well-known lie, I think, in physics or mechanics or whatever, that the whole system is only as strong as the weakest link in the chain, right? If everything is here, but the weakest link is here, it's just not going to fly. There's a method of proof called absurdum ad infinitum, which means taking it absurdly to infinity. And let's say that I have the vastest vocabulary in the world, more than Shakespeare, more than Pushkin, which I think was about 24,000 words for both of them in their respective languages, which of course was Japanese and Arabic. I'm just kidding. Okay, I have the most expansive vocabulary in the world, but I'm a very mousy character, and I can't look you in the eye, and I can't enunciate, and I barely have any diction at all. Like, how good of an interpreter am I really going to be? Or, let's say that I'm the most arrogant, haughty, impudent character which is probably true, but my vocabulary is 101 words. Not gonna fly. So all of these components have to be on par with at least a very solid level, and if you want to be world class, then they, at least 1 or 2, have to be great. Okay, let's move on. What are those components in interpreting as compared to running? I don't know. This is going to be very off the cuff. This cuff, or maybe this cuff. And I hope you like my wry or dry humor. Anyway, but let's see. Well, endurance is pretty easy to envision. Let's say that you're to run a marathon, or let's say which takes, a solid marathon time of about 3 hours. And if you're a very experienced simultaneous interpreter, then you've probably gone for 3 hours on end without stopping. Similar, right? An interpreting marathon. Now, there's a difference in the running world between endurance and stamina. Endurance is just the ability to cover distance, while stamina is the ability to keep high speed over time. So it's like endurance of speed or speed endurance, right? For example, let's say somebody who can just run a marathon in 10 hours, okay, they have endurance, but not necessarily stamina. Stamina would be like running a sub 30 10K, right? They're keeping a sub 5-minute pace for over 6 miles. So what would that be in interpreting? Well, maybe the speaker is going at like 200 words per minute and you have to do a half hour of simultaneous or something of the sort. Or maybe it's consecutive and it's packed with data. Like, for example, mile runners also need endurance because they're going super fast. Like, honestly, most people could not run 100 meters at a world-class miler's pace, not even 50 meters, maybe 50 meters. So that's also endurance, but that's more stamina. Maybe that's like a 5-minute chunk in consecutive that is data packed. But data packed to me is more like speed, because in sprinting, it's power, it's explosive, there's a lot of energy turnover, there's a lot of actual foot turnover, like their cadence, their turnover is very high. And when the turnover of data, factual information is very high, then you have a high speed, or if the speaker is really fast. But the speaker can also be very fast and be saying a bunch of balderdash. Okay, strength. Well, I don't exactly know how strength relates to interpreting, except maybe it's your whole muscular skeletal system. So that would sort of be your overall bulwark, fortress of the language, but that's also base. Like in running, there's this concept of base, just basically going out and running, not necessarily fast, preparing your cardiovascular system, preparing your muscles, preparing your joints and so forth. And that's just being able to interpret and having enough vocabulary and having your languages, at C1 or higher or whatever, and having some basic interpreting skills. That would be base. And then the mental component, well, in running it's crucial, in interpreting it's crucial, because let's say that a runner and interpreter second guesses themselves. Not gonna fly. And technique, well, that's all the different things I cover in my book and in other clips, and how do you handle this in simultaneous and consecutive and in translation and idioms and idiots. How do you handle idiots? That's a good question. Okay, so enough on that metaphor. I think we've philosophized enough, except that there are different kinds of running training. You can do intervals and you can do long runs and so forth. And you could actually take that and bring that over into the field of interpreting. Like, for example, I've done a consecutive chunk that was 33 minutes just to see if I could, and I could. And having done that, it allows me to now do like long segments of 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever minutes without worrying too much. And that's the theory, that's how some marathoners train. They overrun the marathon distance, which you don't necessarily need to do, but we won't get into it. Interval training would actually be interesting. In interval training, a person is going usually faster than race pace or at race pace, sometimes a little slower, but for shorter intervals. What would it be in interpreting? Well, let's say you ramp up simultaneous to like 200 or 220 words a minute, but you only do it for 2 minutes. Or let's say you have your friend give you like action-packed or data-packed consecutive chunks, 1 minute long, That's interval training in interpreting. Okay, let's move on. Warm-up and cool-down are very important concepts in running. I don't know about cool-down. I don't think any simultaneous interpreter who worked an 8-hour day is going to want to cool down. Well, maybe somewhere in a bar, whatever, or with their friends or with their wife or husband. But warm-up, I actually think that's crucial, and I've done it. Of course, if it's a simple assignment, like a simple race. Maybe you don't have to. Like yesterday I did this race with a friend of mine. She's a Mexican lawyer, and I just ran to support her. It wasn't a workout for me. We were running slow per me, so I didn't really need to warm up. But in running, actually the idea is the faster the race, the longer, the more profound the warm up. And I think that in interpreting, it's a very good idea to warm up before intense assignments. Like, for example, if I know I have an assignment coming up, I'll warm up that morning or the day before with some simple, non-taxing interpreting exercises. Very good idea. Technique, well, that we could talk long and laboriously about. I've already mentioned it. And forgive me, guys, if I'm not looking at you. I'm just not good at staring into the camera. I wish I had all of you sitting right in front of me, but you probably wouldn't fit in my phone. Anyway, technique is everything. In running, in interpreting, and so forth, technique actually comes from Greek, art or skill of doing. So we'll probably dedicate a whole different clip to it, but without technique, you can only, you can sometimes write out on talent alone and on base alone, like the runners who just do base training and they run good races. It happens, but well, that's a little different. They might have good technique. But anyway, I think I've covered most of what I wanted to cover. Oh, another point. In running, you have to be able to run comfortably while being uncomfortable. So comfortable through the pain, or I don't like calling it pain, through the discomfort. There's something in running called the pain barrier, basically meaning if a runner can overcome the pain that is bound to come, they'll be good. I'll even quote Kipling here. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will that says to them hold on. ... If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and what is more, you'll be a man, my son. Yeah, and by the way, Rudyard Kipling was a 4:30 miler, and that's, I think, early 20th century or whenever it was. He was very fast. So yeah, that is the ability to overcome pain. In interpreting, hopefully there's no pain, but be comfortable while being uncomfortable. Eyes on you. You're being recorded if it's a deposition. People challenging you, lawyers watching you, or whatever, not necessarily lawyers, I'm just giving examples from court interpreting. But whatever the discomfort might be, just be there, own it, and be comfortable. Okay, with that sage and wise advice, I think we need to move on to the second quarter of this clip, and it might just be tomorrow or it might be today. But what's my call to action besides just go out for a run? But running is great. Running is great. It's not for nothing that the Greeks would say, if you want to be happy, run. If you want to be handsome, run. If you want to be smart, run. Or maybe it's healthy instead of handsome, but honestly both. So draw your own conclusions. Maybe break up your interpreting into pieces. Just like running isn't running, you can analyze, what is my strongest suit? What is my weakest suit? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. I just can't get enough of talking to you. I did a kilometer test about a week ago, and the time wasn't great, but my recovery time, meaning the time back to 120 pulse, was super fast, which means my cardiovascular system is in good shape. So why was it slow? Well, it's probably either my technique suffers, which I know it doesn't suffer that much, or if it's not technique, it's either weight or it's muscle strength. Like the muscles maybe are just not strong enough to hold the speed. So you can sort of break down your interpreting that way. Like, where is my weakest point? Is it my knowledge of the language? One of the languages? Both of the languages? Is it my interpreting skill? Like, can I just not hold the pace in simultaneous, or do I have memory lapses in consecutive? And you ruthlessly work on that point, right? And let me know. But on the other hand, you also want to fortify your strong suit, because that's what makes you, you. I don't know what my strong suit is. It's probably all of them. Well, not necessarily. but I have several. But you want to do both. You want to improve your weakest link in the chain, and you want to strengthen your strongest link in the chain. And also, I didn't draw this comparison yet, but it's good to not just be a specialist. Like, for example, with runners, the really good ones, they can jump across distances. Like Jacob Ingebrigtsen, who is actually known to be a miler. He lost the mile or 1500 meter race in the last Olympics. Didn't lose it, he came in fourth. But then he won the 5K. And probably the greatest runner in that respect was a Czech colonel by the name of Emil Zatopek, who won the 5K, 10K, and marathon. I think it was at the 1952, maybe 56 Olympics. That's a very, very versatile runner. So also be versatile, jump across fields, you know? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. I have a colleague, Andre. See, Andre, I knew I would mention you. And he's a specialist in many different fields, but I think especially oil and gas, but also like diplomacy. Well, I could do oil and gas. I wouldn't necessarily be as polished as him, but I could do it. I would probably let him be the team captain if we were working together. I'm very good at courts and the American legal and the American illegal system. I'm sure Andre could do it. He might have to brush up on terminology, but any strong interpreter could easily do any field. Not necessarily easily, you'd have to prepare. Just like a runner might have to prepare for like running at altitude, which I'm at right now. But enough of me rambling, so think of your own call to action. Hopefully this was useful. Go out for a run and train. That's my last comparison. Athletes train. Interpreters should also train, lest they be left in the train or the retinue of bad interpreters. That was supposed to be a funny pun. I don't think it really worked out, so I'm just going to end the clip. I'll see you guys in the next clip.